Welcome back to Whispers in the Dark. Tonight, we're heading deep into the woods. These are 4 true camping horror stories, all from people who thought nature was their escape, until they realized something else was out there with them. Turn off your lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't answer the voice calling from the woods. Story 1. Me and my 2 best friends decided to go camping for a weekend in mid-September. We picked a wild campsite in a national park. No cell service, no rangers, completely cut off from the rest of the world. The campsite had just a few flat patches by the lake, each spot at least 500 meters apart. We were the only group there that night. After dinner and chatting around the campfire, the 3 of us turned off the lights and crawled into the tent around 1 a.m. At about 3 a.m., I woke up, not because of a noise, not because I was cold, just a bad feeling. I lay still, eyes open, and felt a gaze piercing through the tent fabric. I heard footsteps, slow, very slow. Then they stopped, right outside the tent door. I held my breath. No one in our group had left the tent. I was sure of it. I stared at the tent fabric, hoping the moonlight would show a shadow if there was one. And it did. I saw the outline of a person standing there, not moving, not speaking, not doing anything, just standing, staring at the tent. I didn't dare move. That person, or thing, stood there for almost 2 minutes, then started circling the tent. Slow steps, right along the edge of the fabric. No voice, no attempt to get in. Just walking, and stopping at the head of the tent, right where I was lying. I whispered to my friends. No one answered. I was about to call out louder when the shadow vanished. I didn't hear footsteps walking away. It was just gone. I couldn't fall back asleep. At 5:30 a.m., the sky lightened. I got out of the tent, checked around. The grass was wet with dew, and I saw shoe prints. Very clear, an almost perfect circle around the tent. What gave me chills was the footprints didn't lead to the tent or away from it. They started at the side of the tent and ended right there. No tracks coming in or leaving the campsite. I told my friends. They thought I'd dreamed it or hallucinated from exhaustion. The next night, I set my phone to record automatically and placed it near the tent door just to verify. The next morning, listening to the recording from 2:57 to 3:11 a.m., I heard a whisper that didn't belong to anyone in our group. A faint voice. Open the door. I'm so cold. I jolted up, trembling like crazy. I checked my friends' voices. No match. Both swore they weren't awake then, and of course, neither had said that. I saved the recording, sent it to a friend who works with audio. He called me back that same day. Just one sentence. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't sound human. That night was our last at the campsite. We decided no campfire, no ghost stories, nothing. Everyone felt tired, drained, and uneasy. I still set my phone to record, but this time I added a dash cam on a tree branch, aimed at the tent. Around 2:48 a.m., I woke up to a whisper right by my ear, even though I was alone in the tent. I turned on my flashlight, looked around, no one. I sat up, unzipped the tent, and I saw it, far off about 15 meters from the campsite, where the moonlight barely reached. A figure, tall, thin, standing straight, still as a rock, not moving, not reacting, not coming closer, just staring at the tent. I quietly woke my friends. One stammered, "What is that?" We stood there, the 3 of us, in silence for nearly 2 minutes, and then the figure stepped back into the woods, not turning around, not turning its head, just retreating, step by step, like it was sliding. The next morning, we packed up as fast as we could. On the drive out, I replayed the dash cam footage. At exactly 2:49, the video started glitching slightly. A faint blur appeared at the edge of the frame. When I brightened it, I saw two eyes reflecting the moonlight, standing right at the campsite's edge, closer than I remembered. But what really terrified me was when the video cut off. 3:14 a.m. No one turned off the camera. There was no reason for it to stop, but it ended right as the camera began panning slightly toward the tent. Like something didn't want us to see more. We never went back to that campsite, and since that day, I've never slept in a tent again, anywhere, because sometimes in the middle of the night, I still feel that gaze, standing outside the tent, not knocking, not calling, just staring. Story 2. Camp Mamate doesn't exist. A few years ago, I went camping in the fall with my college friends in a forest near the mountains in Colorado. There were 5 of us: me, Brandon, Jesse, Mike, and Danny, my best friend since high school. We set up camp on a high clearing, about 3 miles from the main road. No cell service, no passers-by. It was the kind of place so quiet that the sound of zipping up a sleeping bag at night felt like a knife being drawn. We pitched 3 tents, Jesse with Brandon, Mike alone, and me sharing with Danny at the edge of the site. The first night went fine. We grilled sausages, told some jokes, and chatted under the starry sky until nearly midnight, then headed to our tents. Around 1:30 a.m., I woke up to a loud sniffing sound, like someone with allergies or a cold. The tent was pitch black. I turned my head and saw Danny curled up in his sleeping bag, facing away from me, breathing heavily, trembling slightly. I asked, "You okay, man?" No answer. I figured he was fast asleep, so I didn't think much of it, pulled my blanket up and went back to sleep. The next morning, when I woke up, Danny wasn't in the tent. I stepped outside and saw the group starting a fire, brewing coffee, laughing like nothing was off. I asked, "Where's Danny?" They all looked at me, dead silent. Brandon spoke first. "What?" I frowned. "I mean, where's Danny?" "He slept in my tent." Brandon stared at me like I'd just spoken an alien language. "What's wrong with you? Danny didn't come with us. He twisted his ankle last week. You told us yesterday he canceled at the last minute." I froze. My whole body went cold, my heart pounding so hard I could hear the blood in my ears. I rushed back into the tent, tore open the sleeping bag next to mine. Empty. No sign anyone had been there last night. The bag wasn't compressed, no leftover warmth, no sweat smell, no footprints from inside. I sank to the ground. The group watched me, worried. Jesse came over asking softly, "What's going on? Did you dream it?" I didn't know. I was 100% sure I'd talked to Danny. I remembered his voice, the way he cleared his throat, the mint candy smell he always had. I pulled out my phone to check the group photo from yesterday. 4 people, no Danny. I checked my texts. The last message from Danny was from 5 days ago. "Sprained my ankle, bro. Gotta cancel camping." No other messages, no calls, but I remembered clearly. I'd talked to him last night. I swear I handed him a flashlight. I recalled him saying, "I'm scared of forest spiders, turn on the light for me." That night, I didn't sleep. I set my phone to record, just to double-check my memory. The next morning, I listened to the clip from 1:20 to 1:50 a.m. At 1:27, I heard my own voice whisper, "You okay, man?" And then another voice replied, "Yeah, I'm just a little cold." It was Danny's voice. I couldn't explain it. I saved the file, sent it to Danny, and asked, "Did you talk to me the other night?" He replied, "I've been at home watching Netflix, my foot's still swollen." I didn't even sleep that night. "What's this?" I sent him the file. A while later, Danny texted back one line. "I don't remember saying that, but it does sound like me." I didn't tell the group. I deleted the recording, but it reappeared in my downloads folder later, even though I hadn't re-downloaded it. And what scared me most was the end of the file at 1:48 a.m. A faint whisper, very close to the mic. Not me, not Danny. Thanks for letting me sleep with you. Since that night, I've never camped alone, and I always check the sleeping bag next to me carefully. Because sometimes, in the dead quiet of night, I hear that soft sniffing again, right by my shoulder, and I don't dare turn around to see where it's coming from anymore. Story 3: Call from the Forest. This happened last summer when me and my group of 4 close friends decided to go camping in a rarely visited national forest in northern Washington. We didn't pick an official campsite with rangers and toilets. Instead, we chose a free camping spot that required over 3 hours of hiking through the woods to reach. The farther from people, the cooler it was. That's been our group's trekking philosophy since the beginning. After setting up camp, eating and joking around, night fell. No city lights, no cell signal, just the sound of insects, the wind rustling through towering trees, and the moonlight glowing on the damp ground. The first night was completely normal, but on the second night, things started shifting a little. I woke up around 2:15 a.m. needing to use the bathroom. As I stepped out of the tent, I heard someone calling my name from the forest. At first, I thought it was one of my friends messing with me. But that voice, it was my mom's. Clear, warm, familiar. "Honey, come here, I need to tell you something." I froze under the moonlight. The wind stopped. Not a branch moved. Just that voice echoing from deep in the woods, maybe a few dozen meters away. I didn't answer. I backed up, went into the tent, and zipped it shut. The next morning, I told the group. I laughed it off like a joke, thinking I'd been half asleep. But when I mentioned the voice sounding like my mom, Derek, my best friend, went pale. He stayed quiet, then said, "I heard it too, but it was my brother's voice." That's when I knew I wasn't the only one. 3 out of 4 of us had heard a loved one's voice calling our names from the forest between 2 and 3 a.m. Only Mike hadn't heard anything. He laughed. "You guys are nuts. Must be isolation getting to you. I didn't hear a thing." The third night, we agreed to record on our phones, and Mike volunteered to stay up until 3 a.m. to keep watch, since he thought we were having collective hallucinations. At 2:46 a.m., Mike woke me up. He whispered, tense, "Get up. There's someone standing in the woods. I saw their shadow." I sat up, slipped on my shoes, and we all stepped outside. Under the faint moonlight, about 20 meters from camp, a figure stood between the trees, motionless. We called out, "Who's there?" No answer. But then, it called each of our names. Derek, Jason, Mike, and then me. Lucas. The voice was exactly like my mom's. Derek said it sounded like his brother. Mike froze. He later told us it was the voice of his ex-girlfriend, who died 2 years ago in a car accident. The figure started stepping back into the forest without a sound. No crunching leaves, no snapping twigs, just retreating, step by step, until it vanished behind a large tree. We didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I played back the recording. Starting at the 42-minute mark, there was a stretch where we were all silent, but the mic picked up a woman's voice whispering over and over, "Come here, come here, come here." The voice started warm, then grew distorted, like a cassette tape being rewound. At the end, one sentence. This time, "Don't let them leave." We decided to break camp that morning. No one wanted to stay another night. On the way back, as we crossed a bend, I was at the rear, and I heard it, right by my ear, crystal clear. "Lucas, it's Mom." I whipped around. No one was there. But the scent of the perfume my mom always wore lingered in the breeze. Since then, I've never gone camping anywhere without cell signal, supervision, or a quick escape route. Because what scares me most isn't what's hiding in the dark. It's when it calls me with the most familiar voice I know. Story 4: Flashlight in the Forest. I'm an introvert and I love camping alone. It's not that I'm fearless or trying to prove anything. I just enjoy the absolute quiet of nature, cut off from phones, people, and social media. Last October, I planned a 3-day weekend trip to a remote campsite deep in an Oregon forest, a spot hardly anyone knows about. I'd been there once before with an ex-girlfriend. This time, I went solo. I arrived Friday afternoon, set up camp near a small stream, surrounded by trees, with no cell signal at all. Everything was peaceful, until that night. Around 1:40 a.m., while sleeping in my tent, I was jolted awake by a flash of light streaking across the thin fabric. I thought it might be moonlight or someone's flashlight if they were lost. But no. The light moved horizontally, left to right, like someone holding a flashlight was passing my camp, just a few meters from the tent. I stayed silent, holding my breath. No footsteps, no snapping twigs, nothing. I sat up, turned on my personal flashlight, but outside it was pitch black, so still I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. No one. Nothing. I lay back down and told myself, maybe I dreamed it. The second night. Around 2:10 a.m., the light appeared again, this time closer. I was awake, so I couldn't call it a dream or imagination. The beam circled the big tree to the right of my tent, like someone was searching for a path. I didn't dare call out. I just quietly unzipped the tent a bit, peeking out, and I saw it. A small beam of light, hovering about 1.5 meters off the ground, not aimed anywhere. It stayed still for over a minute, then flickered off. Gone, like it never existed. The next morning I checked around. No footprints, no strange shoe marks, no scraps of cloth, no trash, nothing. I told myself, maybe a ranger on patrol? But this area has no nighttime rounds. And if it was a person, why no sound? Why no response when I shined my light back? The third night, I was prepared. I set my phone to record, kept my flashlight ready, and left the tent door unzipped. I stayed awake until nearly 2:30 a.m. when the light appeared again, this time right next to the tent. But it wasn't one beam. It was 2 flashlight beams, pointing straight down, parallel, spaced exactly shoulder-width apart. I flipped on my light, rushed outside. No one was there. But I saw this. 2 round footprints, pressed deep into the damp ground, like someone had just stood there, then vanished. No tracks leading in, no tracks leading out, just 2 prints standing still, and nothing around them. I packed up the next morning and left earlier than planned. I told the story to a friend who works part-time as a ranger. He only asked one question. "Did you see its face?" I said, "No. I just saw the light." He paused, then said, "Then you're lucky." I thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. About a week later, at home, around 2 a.m., I was woken by a flash of light streaking across my bedroom window. I live alone. No one knows my gate code. I ran outside. No one there. But on the concrete sidewalk were 2 dirty barefoot prints, no bigger than a normal person's, standing side by side. I installed a camera, and since then, almost every night between 2 and 3 a.m., it catches a quick flash of light streaking past my front door. Always from the same direction, always gone after 2 to 3 seconds. I haven't posted the clips online. I haven't told anyone else. I just swapped my curtains for thicker ones. And since then, I haven't dared sleep facing the window again. Thank you for listening. If you ever go camping alone, remember, it's not the cold, the dark, or the wild animals you need to worry about. It's what watches you from just outside the light. Subscribe to hear more real horror stories, whispered in the dark.